and welcome to this video about how to know what your child is learning when they're reading. This is a question that I get asked a lot. How do I know what my child has actually read or what they remember from what they've read? And this is something that can be really tricky once our kids get to the stage where they can read independently, because sometimes it can be hard to tell what our kids have actually read and what they've remembered when they're not reading it out loud together with us. So today I want to share 3 different strategies that you can use to help make sure that your child is reading and make sure that they're really remembering and learning what it is that they've read. Please take a minute to hit like on this video and subscribe to the channel so that you'll get notified whenever a new video is released. Okay, so here are 3 ways to know what your child has read. And the first way is actually to read the book together. Even if your child is old enough that they are an independent reader and can read the book independently, there can still be really great value in spending time together reading the book out loud. You might ask your child to read the book out loud to you completely, or you might do a partner reading situation where you read all of the left-hand side pages and your child reads all of the right-hand side pages. I love this strategy because it gives kids a break as they're reading out loud, so they only have a small amount to read and then they get to have a break and listen. It can be a really great way to motivate an older child who is not maybe as excited to read, but still needs to read out loud. So as you're reading the book out loud together with your child, you should stop periodically and ask questions. So you're not just going to have your child start at the beginning of the chapter and read to the end with no breaks. Instead, you're going to stop periodically and ask your child questions about what they've just read. Sometimes you're going to want to ask a really obvious question that the answer came directly from the text. So for example, if they read a story about a picnic, you might ask a question like, what did they eat at the picnic? Or what food did they eat at the picnic? And the answer to that question might have been in the story just a few sentences before. So these kinds of questions are ones where your child can go back and reread a sentence of the story, and that will tell them the answer. And you want to ask some like this just to make sure that your child is really understanding and connecting what they've read. And then you also want to ask some more in-depth application questions. So in the picnic example, you might ask, what's your favorite food to bring to a picnic? So in these kinds of questions, your child has to take what it is that they've learned and remembered and then apply it to their own lives. So you want both the kind of cut and dried, easy answer questions and some of the more complicated, how does this apply to you kind of questions when you're reading together. The second strategy to help your child know what they've read and to make sure that they are remembering and understanding and actually reading is to have a book club with your child. And this one works really well for a slightly older child who's reading a longer book independently. So you might decide that your child is going to read a chapter book and that you and your child are going to have a book club. So what you would do is you would each read the book, and then after a certain number of pages or chapters, you both would stop reading and you would get together to discuss it. So as you're reading, you might think about some discussion questions that you wanted to ask your child. And then after you've both had a chance to read the section, you would get together and discuss the book. There are lots of ways that you could make this really fun. Maybe you could take your child out for a meal and you could have your book club discussion over dinner, or maybe you could have a tea party, or maybe you could do a different special location for your book club, just something to really make that time unique and special together. The third way that you can make sure that your child is understanding and remembering what they're reading is by assigning some sort of a follow-up activity for them to do after they finish reading. In school, we might refer to this as a book report, but the great thing is that in homeschool, you can really make these creative and exciting for your child. So you want to think about what kinds of things your child really likes to do, and then maybe try to incorporate that in their project in some way. So if your child really likes to write, then you might give them an assignment to write a journal. Maybe they write a journal as if they were the main character of the story, or maybe they might just write a journal themselves about the things that they learned and the things that were interesting to them from the book that they're reading. If your child prefers to draw, then maybe you might ask your child to draw their own illustrations for the story. and to create some pictures based on what they read. Maybe if your child is a little bit more hands-on, they might make a model or a diorama of something that happened in the story. Or you might work together as a family to make a lapbook. A lapbook is a folder that is folded with special sections inside that have flaps and graphic organizers and information from the story, and they're a really fun way to help your child communicate what it is that they learned. So I do have a post on my blog about lapbooks and how to get started with lapbooks, and I will link that post in the description of this video. So I'd love it if you shared in the comments how it is that you like to learn what your child read from a book or what they remember. Please feel free to share your favorite strategies in the comments.